images of dogs, it probably means something.
Upside down pictures of dogs means that you like cats. Not if you're a dog with. And if you're a cat.
I was like, what?
Hey YouTube, it's Petey, and it feels like it's Sunday. What day is it?
It's Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
I ended up, there was a YouTube video about the Roland VG8, which is their Roland, the synthesizer company. They also, if you ever heard of Boss, a Boss pedal, Boss, that company is a subsidiary of Roland. And back when I was in my heyday, the guy who ran the guitar division of Roland / Boss, his name was Scott B. Summers. Anyway, I talked to Scott on the phone. He helped me get my RPS-10. It's a half rack reverse pitch shifter. One of the coolest effects ever made by Boss, if not the definitively coolest thing. Also really rare. Reeves Cabril's, Adrian Blue, Rob Fetters, and me. So yeah, I remember going to, what was the name of that place in Brookfield? DJ's Music?
Yeah, on Ogden.
And we saw...
It was Berwyn.
It wasn't Scott B. Summers.
No, some other guy, but I don't know.
I forget the guy's name. And he would do these Roland clinics. They would come out with on a little stage, and the place would usually be packed with musicians and a couple of their girlfriends. And they would do a product demonstration. The guy was usually a shredder, like a really talented guitar player. They'd usually have something special. And he would have a spiel with music where he's playing and demonstrating what this amazing new guitar technology could do. So whenever they had anything like that, me and Donna were there, and I would the guitar player in my band, there would be some straggler I would have with me, but I remember seeing the first GT, the GT3 demo, and the way they demoed it just seemed like if you were a guitar player and you didn't have one of these things, that you were going to be a failure. But if you did have one, you would be an instant success. And like the way that how adept, this is like carnival barking, but they're not selling frisbees. It's, $1,600, $2,600. Later we see in the case of the Roland VG8, which was 1996, I believe. MSRP $26.95. And that was where I logged out. I mean, at that time, my wife bought me the rack mount GR50 Roland guitar synthesizer, and it came with a GK2. I got a Stratocaster from DJ's Music. I bought my Strat, an American Strat. I paid $400 for it, used in 1992. Back when you couldn't give a Strat away. You had to have a pointy guitar, BC Rich with a snakeskin pickguard. So really, I'm giving you all this history so you can get an idea of who I am and my history as it relates to this gear. I've always been technically related or interested in the technical side of guitar playing, using effects boxes, not so much amplifiers. And Roland was always the promised land. It was the gear you couldn't really afford, but like I said, if you had it, you would be successful. You would be able to have great and really weird sounds. And people like Aagain Ballou only further solidified this as a reality. When you're listening to, like, I went nuts on Aagain Ballou's music. Around the time after he was in a group called the Bears, which were, they both had GR50 guitar synthesizers, Roland jazz chorus amps, and they were playing Boss RPS 10 reverse pitch shifters. That was what they had. They had a Strat, a backwards box to flip their playing around. And the interesting thing about the backwards box is in order to really experience it, you need to set your effect ratio, meaning there's a knob on this thing, and if you turn it all the way to the one way, you'll hear just the effect unit. If you turn it all the way the other way, you'll hear unaffected guitar, as if you didn't even have this whatever effect pedal. And in order for it to be most effective, it's my opinion, and the three guys who mastered this device, they all set it up the same way. Although more lately, one of them has been turning his mix knob so you can hear some of this clean guitar. And I don't like when he does that. But you can still hear that there's reverse sound. And it's a lot easier to do when you can monitor, because what I mean is it's a delay unit, so it's an echo. You produce the sound, and in this case, if it's 100% wet, you're only hearing the echo. You're not going to hear it when you twang the pick on the string. It's going to go through the delay, however amount you have it set. Let's say it's 740 milliseconds, which is a really useful, it's the maximum amount of time limit that the unit will allow, because it's got a limited amount of time that it can reverse. And it also happens to fall in tune with something that's 120 beats per minute, about a modern reasonable rock tempo. It will fit in that parameter fairly well. So initially we see like 700 seconds, 600, 400 in there for reverse guitar, guys that are using it. Guys like Reeves Gabrels, he plays for The Cure now, and he played for Bowie. He was Bowie's guy in that later end, I'm Afraid of Americans and all that. Even before that, Reeves was in a band called Tin Machine, which was when Bowie was like, I'm not playing my old songs, Major Tom and China Girl, when you come see me. I'm in a band now that's called Tin Machine. And that was Tony and Hunt Sales. There's a guy named Soupy Sales who was like a wacky vaudeville guy, and he had these two sons that were, they were really good musicians. And the guitar player was this Reeves Gabrels, who played through the Boss RPS 10, which is the reverse delay. He used shorter delay times, but that was in songs that had faster tempo. Now, later, the devices that were capable of doing this became more of a standard thing, when at the time there really wasn't anything else next to that I was aware of. There was two things you could get to do this. Mind you, anybody can take tape record on it and flip it over and it'll play in reverse. And that's the original backward stuff. But later, when we have digital delay, somebody figured out how to do it in reverse. And that's what we're talking about, draw cabs. The reverse delay, backwards echo, backwards box. Really rare. There was 2 devices that could do it. The Boss RPS 10, which was this Boss half rack series. They were gray and they had little different color knobs. Blue, orange, green, maybe red knob. And they had like, it was called the Studio Series half rack. You could stack them up on your desk. Have like a compressor. They had a distortion. They had a reverb. They had a delay. Maybe. And then the RPS 10, which was pitch shifter delay, but it did reverse. The reverse pitch shifter. RPS 10. So I became a fan of Adrian Belew's music, and I thought the first time I saw him was at the... I've seen Belew more than any other professional big name. I've seen Belew like every year since 1988. So, and maybe not every year, but I've seen, like, I've got all of his stuff. I know it all. I've listened to it extensively. And the band The Bears, and then there's that guy Rob Fetters, who was the other dude who used the backwards box, and he used this guitar synth, and he used the same guitar and the same guitar amplifier, which their amplifier, the Roland JC120 has it's a real distinguished looking amp. It's a 2x12 with aluminum cones in the speaker, so you can see that through the grill. And it's got my blinky lights going off, and that tells me that I need to wrap this video up. I'm going to shut the light off, and we'll keep it going for a minute. But the JC120 amp was Roland Jazz Chorus, and it has a real distinctive chorus sound. It's a really loud, really heavy 2x12 amp with a spring reverb, a built-in distortion that's horrible. The worst distortion ever is in the Jazz Chorus amp. There's spring reverb. There's this real wacky chorus where you can shut off the dry sound and it'll just like a vibrato, like the Boss VB, that really rare vibe pedal. This is the CE1. If you know what the first chorus pedal, it's real wide and dark gray. That chorus circuit is in the Jazz Chorus amps, and they've got all different sizes of them. There's small ones, medium ones. They even had a mono one that was one speaker, and it didn't have the direct input to bypass the preamp, which the 120s do. And that's when Roland had any of these demos, they would have a pair. Even when you went to Guitar Center or a good guitar store that had a Roland account, they would have 2 JC120s, and then Roland's synthesizer would be plugged in. And that would be the flagship thing of the store. When you went to Guitar Center or a guitar store, there was 2 Jazz Chorus amps and then this tricked out box, and they'd have the guitar was put behind the cashier. You would have to ask for the guitar. So all of these kids went into these guitar stores and they would see this. This is it had like fog machines built into the display, and they had it looked like a Van Halen concert. They had like girders and beams and lights, and like you could get up there if they'd give you this guitar, and you could, go nuts and be in guitar heaven, but you were never allowed to. And like the first guitar that they had for that setup was called the Roland GR700, the James Bond guitar. It's got like a bar that comes up on the top, looks like an M16 machine gun, and it's silver. Like the coolest looking, like literally if Darth Vader came down, that would be the guitar he would be playing. So like I said, it was an exciting time to be an enthusiast of Boss and Roland, and I want to talk more about this stuff, but I'm at my time limit for this video. So if you want to hear more, the second part of the video, I'm going to be talking about guitar synthesis, the reality of it. This is going to be my digesting everything I know about it and like why I really wouldn't recommend it. But we're also going to talk about something that did work really well, which is their VO modeling. That was only in one device. So if you want to come back, we'll be talking about the VG8. What's the difference between a Roland VG8 and a Roland VG88? And why that could save you a lot of money and frustration. Anyway, you guys, thank you for joining me this video on my enthusiasm for Boss and Roland products. I want to say a special thanks to any of those people, Adrian Ballou, Rob Fetters, Reeves Gabrels, and then especially Scott Summers, when you helped me get that RPS 10. The other guy is Biff Moyer. Biff from the Gomers. There's a band called the Gomers from Upper Peninsula, Michigan, I think, or somewhere. That he is Robert Fripp's guitar tech. There's a King Crimson documentary called The Court of the Kings and Crim. 50 years to be a Crimson head, whatever it's called. That guy, Biff. Special thanks to Biff. Bumflum Langney. Biff Moyer, the Gomers. I love this guy's music. Also, Scott Summers. Specials, huge thank you to you. And to any of my old buddies, well, none of them care about any of that stuff because they were weekend warriors. It's just me and you now, kid.